I accidentally found a secret family chat called Family Ranking on Christmas Eve. My name was under Always Overreacting. March 10th. At least he pays the bills. Dad wrote, thankfully, the golden child makes us proud. I texted one line, appreciate the transparency. Next morning, I canceled 3 payments quietly. That night, they found a USB in the mailbox. Inside, one file. Play_me_last. They never got to the end. I showed up on Christmas Eve with a bottle of red, 2 bags of groceries, and 0 expectations. That was my first mistake. I told myself this year would be different, or at least quieter. My plan was simple. Eat, stay polite, leave before dessert. But they had other plans. It started with my sister handing me her phone to show a photo of her new puppy. She forgot to close her apps. When I tapped the home button, a group chat opened. Family Ranking. I didn't even mean to look. It was just there. Mom had written, still think he overreacts. March 10th. At least he pays the bills. Dad followed with, thankfully, the golden child makes us proud. I stared at the screen for 5 seconds. Long enough to stop pretending I misunderstood this family. Long enough to feel something settle, not rage, not sadness. Just finality. I handed the phone back without a word. Walked down the hall. Opened my banking app and canceled 3 payments. Mortgage buffer, streaming bundle, electricity top-off. Gone. Then I texted one line into the group chat. Appreciate the transparency. That was it. No scene. No shout. Just exit. They didn't see it coming. Probably thought I'd sulk for an hour and come back in time for presents. But by then I was already driving home through black ice and backlogged traffic, wondering how many years I had mistaken tolerance for love. Because this wasn't new. Not really. I remembered when I funded their anniversary dinner, $7,500 gone in one night. And they laughed when my brother toasted to the ones who really matter. I remembered being bumped from Christmas dinner last year because the neighbor was alone this year. I remembered being told I should make myself useful when $9,800 hit my card for my sister's wedding. And through it all, I stayed. Quiet. Helpful. Reliable. I thought if I just did more, gave more, earned more, eventually I'd be worth more. But the group chat made it plain. My value was transactional, not personal. I was a feature, a wallet, a backup. So I backed out. Next morning, I mailed them a USB. No return label. Just one file inside, play_me_last. It was a recording. My screen. Logging into systems they didn't know I owned. Removing access. Terminating licenses. Downloading invoices with their names beside mine. No threats. No drama. Just logs. They opened it that night, but they didn't finish. I saw the analytics. They stopped 3 minutes in, right after I said, you thought I was the infrastructure. I was just the sponsor. Then the messages started. Dad, what is this? Mom, you're ruining Christmas. Sister, guess we were right. Always overreacting. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. They never made it to the end of the file, the part where I said, this isn't revenge. This is subtraction. And I think part of them knows. They didn't lose a gift. They lost the reason they kept receiving them. By the time the 3rd day of silence passed, I knew they'd cracked. Not because they called, but because they stopped pretending. The envelope arrived on the 4th morning. No return address. Inside, a list of transactions I'd canceled. Handwritten, red ink circling totals. We relied on this, someone had scribbled. Below it, in different handwriting. You've made your point. Enough. They still thought this was a message. They hadn't realized yet, I was pulling the entire system out from under them. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened the family shared cloud account. Removed my business credentials. That account had hosted their backups, their home camera footage, even my sister's wedding videos. Gone in 2 clicks. Next, I logged into the Wi-Fi controller. Disabled all devices tagged as parent_room, kitchen echo, and golden child_office. Smart locks. Thermostat. Router logs. I scrubbed my fingerprints from everything. Then I changed the password on the admin account and left one note in the system log. Access removed. Consult your favorite child. At 9:17 p.m., the real explosion hit. My phone lit up. Group thread. Screenshot attached. A folder. The folder was titled Backbone. And it was mine. They'd apparently found it on an old shared drive I forgot to lock down. Inside were receipts, wire transfers, contracts, a full archive of every dollar I funneled into this family over the last 7 years. And beside it, a spreadsheet. with tabs labeled by name. Every favor, every payment, every bailout, itemized. I had made it to keep track. They thought it was a weapon, and maybe now it was. Mom, how long have you been keeping score? Dad, this is disgusting. What kind of son does this? Sister, you really think you're better than us? I stared at the screen. Then I hit reply all. You kept receipts. I kept records. Only difference is, mine came with 0 thank yous. I watched them type and delete for 10 minutes. Then the bomb dropped. Dad messaged me directly. Not the group. You've embarrassed us enough. But know this. If you ever share this, we'll take action to stop you. That line. That was the shift. Because for the first time, they said it out loud. This wasn't about family. It was about control. So I opened a new email window, attached the entire folder, addressed it to my lawyer. Subject line, backup plan, just in case. Then I did one final thing. I uploaded the full family ranking chat transcript, including timestamps, into a PDF, and titled it Legacy. I haven't sent it. Not yet. But now it's sitting in 5 separate drives. All encrypted. All pre-scheduled for release if anything, and I mean anything, ever happens to me, my accounts, or the last remaining property I bought under their name. Let them wonder. Let them sweat. They wanted to rank me? Let's see how they survive without their foundation. I didn't reply to any messages. I sat alone in my apartment, the streetlights flickering through dusty blinds. I wasn't waiting for an apology. I wanted clarity, boundaries. I had meticulously planned everything, down to the minute. This was the final stage. I began 3 days earlier. I uploaded an anonymized version of the family ranking chat to a newly created Telegram channel. I replaced names with roles, provider, golden child, overreactor, but the tone, the context remained as raw as Christmas Eve. The message went out. Here's how they really ranked me. By dawn, the channel had 300+ followers, colleagues, mutual friends, distant relatives, people who had wondered why I'd disappeared from family photos. The comments poured in, disbelief, outrage, support. They could no longer pretend control. Next morning, I further strangled their lifelines. I blocked access to our shared investment portfolio, redirected dividends into a mental health charity. I did the same with the utility account I'd administered. Bills halted, autopay extinct, no explanation. Their funds vanished, but so quietly they couldn't argue without admitting my role in supporting them. Third, I released shared photo albums to a few close friends and colleagues. No drama, just happy moments. My birthday hike, volunteer work, my first bonus check. Invitations and messages came back. When are we catching up? My social world existed without them. My narrative didn't need their validation. They couldn't handle it. That's when their real voices emerged. My lawyer called with a scanned letter from my parents. We acknowledge the broken trust. We are considering legal action, but are open to negotiation if you sign an NDA and restore access. Their demand, silence and control in exchange for my concessions. I knew it was hollow. When had blood ever mattered more than dollars to them? I drafted my reply. Trust was broken long before any financial move. When was the last time you saw me as me, and not your ATM? My terms are simple, an official acknowledgement, once, in writing, that I mattered, emotionally, not transactionally. Then we can talk. That evening, I recorded a voice message. I was your safety net. You even called me silent, but reliable. Now I'm just reliable, to me. If you want me back, start with gratitude, in writing. Then proof, not threats. I didn't hit send. 2 days later, I got the unexpected twist. I received a Skype message from my sister, not in the family chat, not through parents, but directly. Remember Mom's secret account? We found it. My heart stuttered. She said they had discovered a hidden trust account set up by our mother decades ago, intended for her kids' education, untouched until now. It was still funded, unclaimed, and now they were fully determined to get to it. And if I didn't cooperate, they'd turn legal again, but this time it wasn't to silence me. It was to control that money. And I was suddenly their key. I paused. They weren't asking for apology. They were demanding action. They were no longer defensive. They were calculating, and that shook me. But I wanted more, something powerful, immovable. So I made my move. That night, I sat down and recorded a video. It opened with my sister's voice message displayed on my screen. Then I walked through our history. The anniversary dinner, the surprise chill when my name wasn't mentioned, The wedding that cost me $9,800. The recent financial blocks. The Telegram exposure. But now I added their new play. We finally speak to you. But only for money. Trust fund locked until you play along. I ended the video with these words. I see you. Your values. And this new leverage? It shows me exactly what this family has become, not of connection, but of collection. Then I added the twist. I transferred the full trust fund assets into a charitable foundation in my mother's name, now irrevocable, tax-exempt, and irreversible. The trust account was no longer accessible by them. It was legally and permanently removed from their grasp. I packaged the video and the foundation documents as play_me_last on a USB drive. I mailed it to my lawyer with instructions, delivered to my family if they escalate legally. I verified receipt tracking, not mailing to them directly, and assurance if things went south. I felt the calm assure itself in my chest. This wasn't aggression. It was a finale. Then the final drop. I emailed the Telegram channel's followers, see added footage, how the trust moved, and why it's now untouchable. Watch if you want to understand who keeps score and who finalizes the ledger. My lawyer confirmed it. All legal, binding, irreversible. They tried calling. Text claiming shock. Anger. Finally, a voicemail from my mother. We always thought, you might come back. We were wrong. The money is meaningless if we can't trust the man behind it. I never replied. The truth was simple. I stood outside their house one evening just to see. A few lights on. No car in my name. No payments. No invitations. But I wasn't angry anymore. Something had shifted. I recognized it. Self-respect doesn't come from scaffolding others build. It comes from dismantling what used to cage me. I walked away, my phone silent, my accounts closed for them, and my name erased from their books. I'd kept the trust, my mother's legacy, but directed by my values, not theirs. The world saw a man. They lost a placeholder. And the ledger? Balanced, finally. This was more than a twist. It was the truth finally out, the control removed, the foundation built on gratitude and autonomy, not consumption and control. If I ever release the USB message, its subject is already written. Legacy and liberation. Not for extortion. For peace. And I carry it with me, unopened, until I no longer need to remind them who I am. No screams. No threats. Just a man, his worth, and a chapter closed on his own terms. They didn't take the silence well. It started with voicemails. One from Mom, voice cracking, not with grief, but with pressure. I don't know what you're trying to prove. Family fights, yes, but family forgives. You're being cruel. Then Dad, sterner. You made your point. You've embarrassed us. Let it go. Enough is enough. We want this to stop. A game. That's what they called it. Like everything I did, the finances, the boundaries, the exposure was just some tantrum. Not a dismantling of a life they thought they owned. Then came the texts. Dozens. Group threads flooded with recycled guilt. He's unraveling everything because he's bitter. He's always been unstable. He's not punishing us, he's punishing himself. I didn't reply. That silence, it was louder than anything I could have said. Because every message screamed not remorse, but loss of control. Then they escalated. At exactly 2:47 p.m. on a Thursday, I got an alert. Someone tried to access the admin panel of my company's infrastructure. 3 failed logins, all traced to an IP 2 towns over, their house. There was an attempt to access the system I had secured. I didn't panic. I activated the contingency I'd set months ago. The moment a breach attempt was flagged from that IP, the system deployed a pre-written message to every client I had ever referred them to. This account has been flagged for unauthorized access attempts. If you receive communication from the following individuals regarding technical support, please forward it to our legal team. By nightfall, 2 of their business associates reached out. What happened with your dad's firm? He tried to get into our portal. Something's off. They were being shut out from every professional door they used my name to walk through. Their referrals were drying up. Their reputations, built half on my free labor, were fracturing. And still, they doubled down. Friday morning, I woke to a voicemail from my sister. Just admit you liked being the hero. The second we stopped praising you, you cut all ties. But I didn't burn it. They dismantled it. I just stepped away. Then came the mask drop. A message from Mom, and this one was different. Fine. You win. The house is in foreclosure. Your father's being audited. Your sister's school called. She's lost her scholarship. You happy now? And then the dagger. This family is broken because of you. I stared at the message. For a second, something old flinched inside me, that boy who used to wonder if he really was the problem. But that boy was gone. So I forwarded the message to my lawyer. And then I sent one final text. Stop contacting me. All future communication goes through legal. You don't want me back, you want access. I turned off the phone. 2 days later, they tried showing up. On my porch. No call. Just there. My sister in full dramatics. Dad pacing like a lawyer. Mom holding a folder, probably filled with proof. I was unstable. But I didn't open the door. Maya did. She didn't invite them in. She just said, he's not your fixer anymore. He's not your scapegoat. And he's not available. My dad tried to push past her. She didn't move. I watched from the hall. My hands weren't shaking. My voice wasn't stuck. I was still. Their tone changed, from asking to demanding. Then finally, Mom broke. If you don't come back, we'll make sure everyone knows what you did. We'll rewrite everything. We'll tell people our side of the story. And Maya smiled. He already told the story. And people believe it, because it's true. They left. No apology. No understanding. Just fear that the story was no longer theirs to control. And it never would be again. They thought it was over. They thought silence meant I'd cooled off. That I'd let the fire burn down. But what they didn't realize was, silence wasn't surrender. It was setup. 2 weeks after they showed up at my door, I published the file. Not to the family. Not in a rage-fueled post. I did it methodically. Deliberately. It was called a record of care. I sent it to 3 places. Their community Facebook group, where they liked to pose as pillars of generosity. The alumni board of my sister's college, where she was applying for an assistant role. A local journalism contact, who owed me a favor. Inside the file, bank transfers spanning 7 years. Screenshots of the family ranking chat. Voicemails, transcribed. The failed breach reports. The recorded voicemail. This family is broken because of you. And finally, the trust fund reroute paperwork, showing every cent legally redirected. I ended the file with one line. They call me dramatic. I kept receipts. The response? Nuclear. Within 24 hours, the Facebook post had over 1,200 shares. Comments flooded in. Old neighbors, teachers, even people I hadn't spoken to in a decade. I always wondered why he disappeared from family events. This is heartbreaking and powerful. If this is true, they owe him everything. Even the journalist messaged me. Would you go on record? I declined. The facts were enough. No interviews. No profile pieces. Just truth. My sister's job offer was rescinded. Not because I asked for it, because the hiring manager read the transcript where she laughed about making the loser brother useful. My dad's firm began losing clients. Quietly, one by one. The kind of cold, professional exodus you can't argue with. My mother? She tried damage control, posted a long Facebook essay about private family matters being twisted by a misunderstood son. It was ratioed within hours. Someone even linked the folder in the comments. Top-liked response. Troubled? No. Just finally done. And then came the part they never expected. The ripple. I started getting emails from people I didn't know, strangers. One from a woman in Nevada. Your story made me confront my parents. One from a man in Toronto. I forwarded your file to my therapist. We've been working on my guilt since. Another from someone who just said, you gave me permission. Thank you. I never responded. But I read every one. Because for once, my silence wasn't isolation. It was connection. They couldn't spin the narrative anymore. The golden child wasn't golden. The martyr wasn't dramatic. And the one they ranked 3 out of 10 had just shown everyone the scoreboard. And here's the irony. I never wanted to destroy them. I wanted them to see me. But when they wouldn't look, I showed everyone else. And now, they can't look away. They showed up one last time. No warning. No lawyer. No pretense. Just 3 people on my front step. Mom in a long coat like she was going to church. Dad in that same blazer he wore to court. And my sister gripping her phone like it could protect her from the truth. I didn't open the door right away. I stood behind it. Watched them through the peephole. They didn't knock. They just stood there, still, rehearsed, waiting for a signal that I'd return to form. That maybe, after all the fallout, I'd finally let them speak. I did. Maya answered instead. She opened the door, stepped aside, but said nothing. They took that as permission. It wasn't. They filed in quietly, like mourners at a funeral. Only they didn't know. It was their relevance being buried. My dad cleared his throat first. Like always. We made mistakes. But families move through that. He looked at me like he expected a handshake. I just stared. Mom followed. You hurt us. But we understand. We know now how much you did, how much we depended on you. Then she added, carefully, we'd like to rebuild, but we need to do it as a family, not with the world watching. There it was. They didn't want peace. They wanted secrecy. They didn't come to apologize. They came to recontain me. I said nothing. So my sister spoke. And she snapped. You destroyed everything. You humiliated us. Why? Just because we didn't say thank you enough? I almost laughed. Instead, I walked to the kitchen drawer, pulled out a printed sheet, and laid it on the table. No words. Just text in 16-point font. You didn't lose the dinner. You lost me. I turned it toward them. Watched them read it. My mom looked like she might cry. My dad turned pale. My sister scoffed. So that's it. You're cutting us off forever? Over this. I finally spoke. First time in months. Not over this. Over 20 years of being convenient, quiet, and erased. You said you didn't need me. I believed you. They didn't move. Didn't argue. Because they knew now, they weren't talking to the fixer. They were talking to the exit wound. I walked to the door. Held it open. Not angrily. Not even coldly. Just done. They left. No hugs. No fake lines. No, we'll talk again. And as they stepped off the porch, I said the last line they'd ever hear from me. Legacy isn't what you build. It's what survives when you're gone. Mine. Still standing. Door closed. Silence returned. And for the first time, it wasn't punishment. It was peace.